in my late 30s, I got real sick. I got lupus. Then I had a heart attack. I was 42 years old.
Oh, shit.
With all the steroids I was on and all these anti-inflammatory things, I gained a lot of weight, probably close to 70 or 80 pounds maybe. First, when you told me about the food logging, I was like, I internally rolled my eyes. I'm not a detailed person.
Classic response. We're down from 205 to, I think, 183-ish. If you were to rewind 16 weeks ago, give that version of yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Sign up with Jimmy and listen to everything he says.
No, come on. Julius, my man, I appreciate you hopping on with me today.
How are you?
Doing well, my man. And I'm excited to jump in, learn about kind of you, your experience, for you to share what worked for you. So why don't you kick it off by just telling us a little bit about, who you are, what you do for work, family situation. Just give us a little bit of background on you.
So I'm a physician, cardiologist. Cardiology thing. I was very active as a kid, as a young adult, and as I got more busier and sort of my activity went down, but my eating habits didn't. And
classic one.
Yeah. So, I used to eat a lot when I was young. I was just very active. But anyways, as I became less active, started to gain weight. And then in my late 30s, I got real sick. I got lupus. I got put on all these medicines. And then I had a heart attack. I was 42 years old.
Oh, shit.
And that was sort of a scary time. But with all the steroids I was on and all these anti-inflammatory things, I gained a lot of weight, probably close to 70 or 80 pounds, maybe, 160 to like 230 over that period of time. And then,
and I don't want to assume, but was that weight gain correlated with the heart attack at all?
Well, it started early on, even before I was sick, right? Just with decreased activity and stuff. But then when I got put on a bunch of steroids for the lupus, that's when the weight really started to go up. I got moon face, and I got all that stuff, and I got all the side effects that you get from corticosteroids.
Sure.
And then as they were getting that all under control, then I had the heart attack sort of on top of that, likely due to the inflammation that I had from the lupus and all that.
Yeah.
So that was a miserable time, and so then eventually I had to get my life back in order, and so that took some time. So in the late 40s or whatever, and then I slowly started to make some changes in my life. But at some point, I started to say, I needed to make some lifestyle changes. I needed to really concentrate on my health, and so I started to make changes that were lifestyle kind of changes. I didn't believe kind of in the fad diet. I didn't want to get on the, weight loss kind of roller coaster.
Yeah.
Gain a bunch of weight back and that kind of stuff. And so over time lost, about 20 or 30 pounds over years of 5-6 years or whatever it was.
And what were the changes that you made then?
So those were basically, trying to get rid of fast food, sort of a big thing. Just trying to, make better choices. I would eat a lot of, dessert type of things and sweets. So I got rid of, and I wouldn't say I got rid of desserts. I limited them. I got rid of anything like with sugar in it, sodas, and then increased my activity. I started walking, before I was always trying to run, and I hate running. I can't stand it, but I would always, and so I'd do it for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, and then it'd be, I can't do it. I love to walk. I said, why don't I walk? So I started walking very regularly, like 3 miles a day. So that helped. I said, I need to make more changes. I was working from home at this point, and then the second thing was resistance training. I knew that I had, I was always pretty muscular as a kid. I was very active. I worked on construction with my dad and things like that. And I was losing muscle mass, and I knew that, losing some strength, and I knew that was important. I knew the literature, but I also could feel it within me. And I knew zero about resistance training. Outside of concepts, I had never gone to the gym really. I was also at that time traveling a lot. I was traveling, if not every week, at least every other week.
For work or for
work? For work. And I had a team, of people, and I believe a lot in sort of culture and team building. So
totally.
So I would spend a lot of time with my team after work, at the restaurant or at bars or whatever. So that made it a little bit hard. And then I see your LinkedIn post. And it was what attracted me to that was that it was like exactly what I would, if I were you, exactly kind of what I would write. It was very, very rational. It was very thoughtful. It was very approachable. It was very, just made sense, right? It like common sense from a nutrition, lifestyle, weightlifting perspective. And it wasn't craziness, but this makes sense. And so that's when I sort of, contacted you, and then we met, which I appreciated that well, right? So when you look online, as you know, way better, there's a ton of experts out there, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a ton of all levels of expertise, right? From so when I looked, I knew that I didn't need like a course. But anyway, so I appreciated that whole thoughtful approach, and that made sense. And I really liked the idea that there was this, I'll call it one-on-one attention. I didn't know what that was going to look like, but that was very reassuring to me. That was what I was looking for.
Yeah. Okay. So then when we met, you were around 205,
right?
And again, don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seemed like you were actively looking to learn how to do resistance training and also dial in your nutrition to the next level. Could you kind of just give me an insight into your frame of mind at that point?
Yeah. So I think you summarized it well. So I knew I looked at it two different ways, and that was what do I need to do? What's the next step here in my nutrition? I wanted to understand just what I was eating and also why I was eating those kind of things. And then that's the habit. That's kind of always, what.
And why resistance training?
So, well, first of all, just knowing, as a physician, knowing the literature, I knew that, as we get older, we lose, lean muscle mass and
yeah.
And so that was first. And second, I noticed it in me. I was losing lean muscle mass. And then third, so I knew I had to do it. And I was doing some stuff at home. I'd bought some programs online and was trying to do that. But I had no incentive. I don't like exercising kind of for exercise sake. I'm not one of these people who can get on a treadmill and go for 45 minutes. And, I don't find that, I can go out and play tennis for 2 hours and that's fun.
That's fun.
But to go out and just get on a treadmill or run, I'm not going to keep it up because I don't find that necessarily.
Okay. And so why was the muscle important to you? Was it because of the relationship to diabetes? What made it important to you?
Well, again, understanding as a physician, I understand the literature and losing, I didn't want to lose lean muscle mass, right? As I got older. So I wanted to maintain that, if not grow it, because, and
So I guess I want you to go a little bit deeper with that of like, why? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you're trying to get on the beach and start flexing on people. So what main doesn't hurt. So what main factors to you makes muscle so important from the physician's perspective?
Well, there's many things. First of all, it as we age, one of the things, losing lean muscle has a lot of detrimental health benefits, right? So you start to fall more, you get become frail, and all these, and so the even when you're 80 or 90 years old, we know that if you start some resistance training, people do better. They fall less, they're less frail, and plus, the metabolism of muscle is such that you can eat more, right? And so I like to eat.
Favorite part.
Yeah. So there was a bunch of reasons for it, not the least of which is, the ability to, I didn't want to, I wanted to be able to still keep my balance. I wanted to be, be able to do the things that, to be active. I don't have to go, I'm not like a mountain climber and all that kind of shit. And we wanted to do that when I'm 80 years old, but I still want to be able to be active, right?
Okay. I love it. Thanks for going a little deeper there for me. And so when we started around 205, kind of didn't know your way around the gym is what you said. Eating well, good foods, but maybe snacking a little bit too much, just eating too much calorically dense food. What were some of the major shifts for you that really unlocked results in terms of your health and fitness in your mind?
Well, first, when you told me about the food logging, I was like, I internally rolled my eyes. I don't think I rolled my eyes at you, but I was like, God, I'm not a detailed person.
Classic response.
I just didn't really, I had tried to do that, because there's literature again that shows people who do that lose more weight and all that kind of stuff. and I just was resistant to it. But I was committed to it. So first I said, okay, I'll give it a try. But then, with the chronometer, it actually became kind of fun, and it was ridiculously insightful. I mean, the first time I went into chronometer and put in that I ate it was just like 30 grams. I mean, it was like 7 pecans or something. It was like 200 calories or something like that. And the amount of fat that was in there. And I was
your eyes light up. Yeah.
I mean, I was like, oh my, no one, like that was a, big insight. And then I also found, again, this pattern of every time I took a break, I would snack. And that I didn't think, I kind of knew again, but again, I didn't realize how much it added on. I also didn't realize how many breaks I was taking, And then I was eating like protein bars, and I never realized like how many calories are in a protein
Yeah,
bar.
they should just be called calorie bars.
They should be. If you get ones that taste good, they're mostly carbohydrates. And if you get the protein, you can't eat them because they're horrible.
Chalk.
And so you're much better off with a protein drink where you can get 30 grams of protein in less than 200 calories.
Or biltong or Greek yogurt, or there's a bunch of different things, but the protein bars.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on that a little bit further before we go to the exercise, because that's such a big thing. And for me, embarrassingly enough, I'd say like the first 8 years of my fitness journey, I was just strictly in the paradigm of like, the amount you eat doesn't matter. It's all about the types of foods you eat, when I was in like the ancestral paleo world, or like the macros, like it's all about keto. Like, you can eat as much fat and protein as you want, but if you have carbs, even like a piece of apple is going to make you fat. Right. That's the frame I was operating from. And so, since then I've gotten more evidence-based, but I would say even beyond reading just like more evidence-based textbooks and anything like that, the thing that really exploded my body composition, but also my knowledge of nutrition, more importantly, was just logging my food. And it's just like, because you type in the pecans, you're like, holy fuck. Right. And then so I very much got out of the paradigm of, just fats is the move, or like just paleo foods and you're fine, to like, it's both, right? You need to eat good quality whole foods like you were when you started 15, 20 years ago, whatever that was. But then also the amount matters. It's both. Right. And, I have a strong belief, not only in nutrition, but in pretty much everything. It's just that like awareness alone is curative. So if you look at logging, it's essentially like, meditation for your mind. Logging is that for what you put in your body. Yeah. And once you have that awareness, it changes everything, for me at least.
Well, you can't change anything if you're not aware of it to begin with, right? And so
that's exactly what it is.
It sort of starts there. But there's also things have, changed so much. There's all this misinformation. There's, if you go to the diet section, the nutrition section of a bookstore, right, you can find a book that basically says whatever it is you want to eat, right? You can find a book that says all, carbohydrate diet. You can find a book that says high protein and everything else. You can find a book that's all fat and ketogenic, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of amazing. It's kind of like, how can this be? And as we've talked about, it's incredibly, we know a lot more over the last, say, 10 years than we knew before, but like there's so much complexity to, I think, nutrition, and what your approach, is sort of a nonsensical kind of common sense, balanced approach. And honestly, the thing that really kind of impressed me too is your knowledge of it. Because when I first was looking at this, you sort of talk about being a personal trainer, but honestly, I think you know more about nutrition than like the most expert nutritionist out there. You're clearly passionate about the nutrition part of it, which most personal trainers, are not.
Well, it's such a big lever, and anything for me, even beyond fitness, that is like going to have a massive impact on anything, like I get fired up about. Like when you can do something, anything that you can do, it's a big lever, you can pull it and you see asymmetrical returns. I just get excited about it.
What?
And we know, and when it comes to body composition, obviously you need to stimulate muscle growth through training. You're not going to eat well and be in a good shape. And then so touch on the training for me.
So the training was a bigger deal because I knew very little. And so was intimidated by the gym. So we started at home. I had some enough equipment.
Yeah, I remember that actually now.
Yeah. And so you, you drew all that out, and I had a bench, I had some dumbbells, I had a chin-up bar, I had, whatever. And you set up a program that was fine. And I was doing it and doing it, religiously. I got to the point where at least I felt like I knew enough that I wouldn't be like a total, newbie at the gym. And so then we talked, hey, what do you think about trying the gym? And then, you sort of convinced me, say, hey, if you don't like it, you can stop. Just you cancel your membership or whatever, and there'd be more, more variety. There'd be more choices. And so I said, well, let's give it a try.
And then, so how do you think just getting in a consistent routine with resistance training, what impact did that have on your health and also body composition, fitness, whatever you want to highlight?
Well, I noticed fairly quickly, that my strength was building up. I felt better. I was able to lift more weights. I was able to, to just do more, and felt like I could just do more. And my son moved back from, South Carolina, or from England to South Carolina, and I went and helped him, and I felt like, I could help, like, so I wasn't a total.
It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only downside is if you lift before you do the moving, don't make that mistake. Because then you just get heckled. Jimmy, you lift all this weight and you can't even help with the moving. I'm like, yeah, I'm sore. Sorry. So 2 big levers, dialing in awareness around the food, and then also the getting into a resistance training routine. Anything else you want to highlight besides those 2? Would you say those were the biggest levers for you to really make some impact here in your results?
Yeah, those. Well, I would say the third thing again was what I would like to call mindset, right? Or I think you've called it identity, which is, who is it that I really want to be? And is it just when I'm going to be a physician who's out there taking care of people, or is it going to be someone who takes care of himself, who's a physician that can take better care of people, not because he's got more energy and because he's, more vital. And I think that's a mindset shift. You gotta make that choice.
Exactly what it is.
I'm not a real efficient sort of person naturally, but it has forced me to be a little bit more efficient, which is good too. But overall, you kind of feel it's not even just feeling better about yourself because you're doing it. It's more like just that mindset makes you feel better about yourself, and then everything else follows. I'm going to go out and do this. I'm going to lose weight. Then I'm going to feel better. I'm going to be happier, right? I'm going to, I'm going to get this relationship or this car or this house or this job, and then I'll be happy, and and I just have found over the years that it's the other way around. You really have to find what I don't like to call it happiness, because happiness is kind of like a momentary event, more like contentment or peace. I've actually even changed to calling it joy and being sort of joyful, kind of, I like that, where you are. And then like the rest of it follows. And so when I go out and walk today, I don't feel like, oh God, I got to go walk, whatever. It's, because I'm feeling better about myself. It's like, I can't wait to go out and walk. And, I used to try to be real efficient, listen to an audiobook or a podcast while I was walking. And I stopped even doing that. And, it's all wooded where I walk. And it's a path kind of through the woods. And it's just, I try to go early in the morning, even though I'd rather be at home, sipping a cup of coffee, maybe. But there's something when I get out there that is, it's enlivening, and things come to you. It's kind of like, your best thoughts come when you're in the shower. Well, if you get out and you walk and you're not distracted, the thing about the shower is because it's a mindless thing. That's why our best thoughts come to us then. When you're out sort of, let's just say, walking in nature and you're not distracted, it's the same effect. And so I'm able to, be more, I don't even like to call it productive, but I get more, maybe creative is a better word, in my stuff. And so that's fun.
I love that. And so I mean, I totally agree with you in terms of like why I love fitness so much. It's like, yeah, I love setting fitness goals, but when I achieve a goal, I'm kind of like, what's next?
Yeah.
And like the same thing with business. I've had the same experience. Like in fitness, I've gotten all the way down to 8% body fat. And what was more enjoyable for me, and I'll say that brag, it's just, let me say my point, is that like what it took to get there, like being so disciplined and dialed in was way more enjoyable than actually achieving the goal, because it's like, wow, I can be this disciplined. And it's like the amount of self-respect that gave me was next level. But let's talk about the kind of the results you got in terms of the past 16 weeks here. So we're down from 205 to I think 183-ish. Kind of like wrap the bow on this great conversation we just had. If you were to rewind 16 weeks ago, give that version of yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Sign up with Jimmy and listen to everything he says.
No, go on.
So I think that it would be like, hey, the food logging is not as onerous as you think it's going to be.
That's right.
You can make it. You can gamify it to a large extent and make it actually somewhat fun. And the gym is not the intimidating place that you think. You know, this Planet Fitness, I mean, there's people of all sorts of ages and disabilities, and you know, people in wheelchairs there and all sorts of stuff. And they're, you know, no one's there kind of looking at you and if you've
pretty inviting community.
They're very, very much so. And they're very willing to help you if you need help and things like that. So, you know, as well, I mean, they want you to, you know, wipe down the machines thereafter, and people are actually doing it. I mean,
it's the opposite of surf culture, where gym culture, it's like, you know, we want the beginners coming in. Oh, hell yeah, that guy's getting healthy. I love to see it, even if they have no idea what the hell they're doing. Surf culture, which obviously I love too. It's like, oh, this freaking kook, get this guy out of the water.
He's a hazard.
He's a hazard, yeah, which is fair. He is a hazard. No one's going to hurt you at the gym, but yeah. All right, man. Well, I really appreciate your time today. This was freaking fantastic. Always great to see you. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And thanks for all your help, man.
Cheers, brother.